Good evening. This is BelGeode, and we are back with some more Microsoft Flight Simulator. And this is going to be leg 3 of our Hawaiian journey. So, just to remind you, we are using the IndiaFoxtEcho rendition of the Rutan Long-EZ, which, as you can see, the current livery that we're using is called the military camo. And there's a quick look at some of the other liveries that come with this aircraft. But of course, we're using the coolest looking one. So just to zoom in, I told you in the previous episodes where we started from. We started from Hana, and we flew from Hana to Lanai. In the last episode, we flew from Lanai to Kalaupapa, and that is where we are today. So for this leg of the flight, we're going to go over a little bit of water here. So we're going to take off from Kalaupapa, and we're going to continue heading west. We're going to go to the island of Oahu. We'll pay a little visit to the Marines over at Kaneohe Bay, and then we're going to bring her down and land at Dillingham Airfield. Just to remind you, all of the airports that we are looking at in this mini tour are by South Oak Company Sceneries. So, with that having been said, let's hop back in the bird on the beautiful island of Molokai, and we'll get started with our third leg. All right, howdy folks, and we are back with our Hawaiian tour where we are visiting all of the airports created by South Oak Scenery Company, and the links are going to be in the video description below. Our chariot, of course, for the journey is IndiaFoxtEcho's Rutan Long-EZ. Okay, so when we left off, we arrived here at Kalaupapa. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, my apologies to everyone Hawaiian who may be watching this. And today, we are going to be flying west. So we're going to be leaving the island of Molokai, and we're going to head to the storied island of Oahu. We're going to be landing at Dillingham Airfield, which is on the northwestern side of the island. Now, this is one of the two longer legs of this journey, so this video will be a little bit longer. You may have noticed that the last video was considerably shorter. But once we get to Dillingham, of course, we will take a look at the airport itself a little bit on the closing credits. And when we come in for the final leg to Kauai, almost forgot the name of the island, we will, of course, show more of the airport on the way out. Okay, but time waits for no one. So let's go ahead and get our canopy down. Once again, it's a little bit claustrophobic, but as I alluded to in the very first leg, it's kind of like being inside an F-16, except we've got a canard in the front and a prop in the back. All right, I think for this leg, we are going to go up to an altitude of about 8,000 feet. I know that seems like it's a little bit high, but we should be fine up there. provided, of course, the cloud cover opens up a little bit. If not, then we will adjust accordingly. All right, let's see how we're doing on fuel. We are still on the right side tank, so you can see right there. That is our fuel needle for the right tank. Left tank, this is the fuel needle, a little bit below the 3/4 mark. We're right at the 3/4 mark here, so we should be good. I don't think we'll need to switch tanks just yet. Okay, everything else is pretty much set to go, so let's tell them that we are going to be leaving. And I always like to announce I'm clear of the runway first.
Papa Hotel Lima, uniform traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is clear of the runway.
All right, and we're going to choose our takeoff airport. Runway 5, which is where we came in. And we're going to announce taxi.
Papa Hotel Lima, uniform traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is taxiing to runway 5.
Okay. Of course, runway 5 is literally right there, so it's not going to be a very long journey. All right, let's get our parking brakes off. I will remind you, by default, this aircraft does not have parking brakes. I can show you how to make it have parking brakes. It's relatively easy to do, just needs some minor modifications to the aircraft.cfg file. But it is my hope that Dino will put that back in there because, as is well known for this particular type of aircraft, people who create them, and by create I mean build it from a kit, also like to mod them so that way they can have it just the way they want it. And that's kind of what I'm going for here by me adding parking brakes to this thing. Whether or not it actually has parking brakes in its default state, I'm going to go with no. All right, we are pretty much here. So once again, we'll get on the horn, and we're going to tell them this time that we are departing to the west.
Papa Hotel Lima, uniform traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo taking off runway 5 west departure.
Which is really interesting because we're actually going to be heading east before we go west. But yeah, I think we can handle it. All right, brakes off, and we'll head to the runway. Now, just to remind you, I am not using live weather right now in Microsoft Flight Simulator. As I mentioned in the previous leg, there appears to be an issue with live weather right now where it's giving some really funky readings as far as wind direction and so on and so forth. So to avoid all of that nonsense, we have a custom Hawaiian weather preset that I've made up, and I've been taking the liberty of changing the winds mid-flight, off camera, of course, and pretty much just setting us up exactly where we will need to be to ensure we're not doing a crosswind landing here. All right, I don't see any traffic coming in or going out, so we'll go ahead and line up. Before we take off this time around, I want to show you something neat and unique about this aircraft, both in real life and as modeled in the sim. So we'll put the parking brakes on for that. All right, so I am on my rudder pedals, and I'm going to make a left rudder turn. We're just going to repeatedly press it, and you're going to notice that, of course, the rudder is deflecting outward. Seems right, right? Now, what happens if I press the right rudder pedal? All of a sudden, the rudder's not moving at all. Well, let's take a look at this side. Same thing, right rudder pedal, rudder's moving out, and we'll go left rudder pedal. We got nothing. That's actually normal, and it's one of the more unique features of this aircraft. It also gets featured in aircraft like the Tomcat and so on. But because of the fact that the wings are so far out and then the tails are on the ends of the wings, the rudders will only deflect outwards, and it will only allow you to deflect the rudder on the side that you're hitting the rudder pedal for, which is a pretty innovative little design, but it actually makes this thing really easy to handle. So I'm glad to see that Dino remembered to add that in there because that is kind of a trademark for the Rutan Long-EZ. All right, let's get our fuel pump on. We're going to go brakes down, throttles up. Pulling her up to 85%, waiting for the RPMs to stabilize. Looks like it is. We're going to go to 90. Looking good, looking good. Full power, brakes off. Here we go. All right. So just to remind you, this is going to happen quickly. Between 65 and 70 knots, we're going to pull up. Airspeed is alive. We're at 60, 65, 70. Just like that. We are up. Landing gear up, which will, of course, raise just the nose gear because the back gear is fixed. We will say goodbye to Kalaupapa. And we're going to head out to sea a little bit before we turn around and pick up our GPS line. So look at this coastline here. I still have yet to get confirmation from South Oak as to whether or not they had an influence in the design of this coastline or if this is considered default coastline. See, to me, it doesn't look like it's default. This actually looks like this is something they did because of how well detailed it is as compared to, say, that portion of the coastline where it just looks like default. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they had a lot to do with that. I could be wrong, however, but hopefully I will be able to find out. And if I do, I will add it as a little pop-up commentary below. All right, let's see how we're doing here. So far, so good. We're going to pull the power back to about 90%. And we'll keep bringing her around. So there's the airport that we took off from. So say goodbye to Kalaupapa. And we're going to keep swinging around here. I had mentioned before that this thing can do aerobatics. You really have to build up a lot of speed. You don't want to go any lower than about 180, which, if you look at our airspeed indicator there's not much wiggle room between 180 and the yellow arc. But if you're planning on doing things like loops or aileron rolls or any of the other fancy shenanigans, please keep that in mind. You need the power to be able to pull it off. All right, let's get our autopilot on. So here we go. And of course, it's going to climb extensively here as we get ourselves on track. Don't worry, it will come back down. It's adjusting itself right now. So we'll need to pick up airspeed, and of course, it's going to bob up and down until we get to the right altitude. So this will also give us the opportunity to contact the nearest tower, Honolulu Center.
Honolulu Center, November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is type 1 miles northwest of Papa Hotel Lima Uniform, 3,000 feet. Request flight following.
November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo, Honolulu Center. Squad 3011.
All right, we will do so.
Squawk 3011 Alpha Golf Bravo.
Alpha Golf Bravo radar contact 2 miles west of Papa Hotel Lima Uniform, 3,300 feet. Altimeter 29.85.
Okay, altimeter is still the same as it was before.
Alpha Golf Bravo.
All right, so that formality is out of the way.
Honolulu Center landmark 848, flight level 320.
So look at that rugged coastline.
848 Honolulu Center, continuous planned.
Wow. So that is definitely default because, of course, there's no really detailed rocks near the bottom or anything. It's just that sheer cliff that leads into the water. At some point in time, I would love to see Asobo and Microsoft introduce wave mechanics. And don't get me wrong, the water itself does have moving waves. But what I mean is like the surf crashing on the shore. Because, I mean, this is Hawaii, and this is one of the things that Hawaii is famous for is its surf. But, of course, it being Microsoft Flight Simulator, which to me is still pretty much a work in progress, we don't have that just yet. Hopefully, we will at some point in time. I do know at the time that this video is going live, we should now have Sim Update 5. Now, that is supposed to bring in things like water wake coming from aircraft as they are taxiing on the water. And by that, of course, I mean float planes. And it should also have things like tire smoke, which I know some members of the community have been asking for. But as of the time of my recording this, I have no idea what other features are going to be brought in. You will probably know before this video goes live. But hopefully, you're enjoying the features that came with the new update. All right, so now that we are just about at 5,000 feet, I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull our mixture knob back a bit. So we're going to put it like right there. That should give us a little boost in power. We're going to get the fuel pump switch off, and we will keep climbing to 8,000 feet.
Landmark 848, contact Honolulu Center on 127.6.
And I think that's my cue to go to the outside view. All right, so here we are, folks. We are just coming into Oahu. We've used the magic of editing here to kind of speed up our progress. And I just contacted ATC and they gave us a different barometric setting. So we're going to set that right now to 992. Okay. Now, from my understanding, the wind is still coming out of the east, so roughly around 080. So what that means, since we are heading west, is we're going to need to basically fly past Dillingham and then turn around and land. So we're going to get a really good look at the island of Oahu as we're going along the northern side here. I have one of our waypoints as the NDB or VOR. I think it's actually the VOR over by Kaneohe Bay, which is the Marine Corps station on the northern side of the island. So that's where we are adjusting our heading to right now. And if you look off in that direction, you can see the area of Honolulu, or at least the beginnings of it, just underneath the portside canard there. And if we go a little bit further over under the clouds, that's around the area where you've got the famous beaches and hotels, and then, of course, the airport, and, of course, Pearl Harbor. can't really see it right now because a lot of it is obscured by clouds, but trust me when I tell you, it is there. And then, if we look closer to the aircraft itself, just beyond this little cloud, you're going to notice what appears to be a few runways down there. That is X Bell or Bellows Field. Now, I don't believe Bellows Field is still in use today. But I'll tell you a funny story. When this sim was in beta, or actually, no, when the sim was in alpha, and they decided to port over all of the airports from the FSX code, X Bell was a part of that code. So they actually had this as a real live active airport, which of course is dead wrong. As you can see, a lot of the runways have grass and so on growing over them. This airport has not been in use for some time, from what I've heard. And it's also funny because back when I first started using FSX, in particular for like military planes, I learned how to change around scenery and so on, and how to edit the scenery files so that I could actually turn XBell into a real airport again, so I could do my Tomcat practices and so on and so forth. But it is kind of funny to see it now, pretty much how it really looks. It's kind of cool. I don't know if I have the will or the time to play around with the software development kit for Microsoft Flight Simulator, but if I ever do, I'll put that on the list of things to do. Recreate X Bell, because after all, it's got the perfect name. It's X Bell. Doesn't get any better than that. All right, let's go back to the outside view really quick as we close in on Kaneohe Bay. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the exterior shots of Kaneohe Bay and X-Bell and all of those fun areas there. Now comes the really interesting part. We've got a mountain range directly in front of us, between us and Dillingham. Thankfully, we've got this GPS, which does have the terrain mapping, the height map there, so that'll pretty much tell us when we will need to come down. Now, I want to say the pattern altitude at Kaneohe Bay is about 1,800 feet. So, with that having been said, since we know we're going to need to land facing east anyway, what I'll do is I will let the aircraft stay on nav hold until we come down to the proper altitude. We'll overfly the airport and then we'll turn around. We'll do like a little teardrop approach and come in. I really haven't done much aerobatics or anything with this, and I'm kind of trying to behave right now, but I think in the next video, I'll see if I can show you a little bit of aerobatics since the next video is going to be the last leg of our Hawaii tour. But I do sincerely hope you've been enjoying it so far. This is definitely one of my favorite places to fly. And every now and then, myself and the VR pilot, aka Jose, will come over here with either F 15s or Corsairs or some other aircraft. And we'll do little tours like this. And I highly recommend you do that. You really don't necessarily need an organized bush trip in order to fly in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Just hop in a plane and go. That's all you need to do. You don't even really need to plan it out. Just figure out your point A, your point B, how you're going to get there. And of course, keep in mind what the weather is. All right, now is probably a good time for us to begin our descent. So I'm going to pull the throttle back. Keep our throttle about 1/3 of the way. And we're going to drop our altitude to 2,000. We'll start there. If need be, we can drop it to 1,800, which is not much lower than 2,000, really. Okay, so there we go. All right. And I'm actually going to pull our power back even further. If you pull the power all the way back, you will notice, see that little light coming on? That's our landing gear warning light. So you can actually pull it probably about 25%. And that should be sufficient. It's going to take us a while to get down anyway, but since we're going to have to make a Yuri, I'm okay with this. All right, and look at that. That's one of those little STOL airfields, short takeoff or landings. You know, that actually does remind me. One of the things that I meant to show off as well with this was this thing called We Love VFR, I think, or maybe it's I Love VFR. I may have forgotten to add it to my lineup of things that I have in my custom scenery folder. But what it was supposed to do is it's supposed to show like various items that are not considered part of the default scenery objects, such as really tall radio towers or weather stations and so on and so forth. And it was my understanding that they also did the entire Hawaiian Islands, but I think I forgot to install it, so my apologies. I really wanted to show that off as well, since we do often use such things as landmarks. But it looks like all we've got to go on are whatever default stuff, such as those wind farms there. So we don't have the others. Ah, well. All right, but I do want us to get to the deck quickly. And I'm thinking it might be time for some shenanigans. So let's do this. Let's get our autopilot off. Now, you notice how we just pitched up like that. That, of course, is the effect of the canards, and also the fact that I did not give us any forward stick movement. But we're going to do it military style here. We'll try to stay lined up with where we need to be. And, of course, everything's going to speed up quickly, so we'll put our speed brakes out. Landing gear horn light is on. However, that's only because of the fact that the throttle is so far low. But yeah, we're going to see if we can sneak underneath this cloud really quick here. In fact, let's go to the outside view as we do this. Okay, so as you can see, there is Dillingham. So let's see, what is going to be the best way to approach? We should probably go out to sea here. So let's do that. We're still coming down. And of course, since I took the speed brakes back up, we've gained all of that speed back. So we're going to swing out this way. That'll give us a chance to check out these neighborhoods. See, now this is all default, but this is well done. I enjoy things like that. And that's one thing that I will give Asobo and Microsoft and all the various subsidiary companies that have helped make this sim some credit. They do default buildings well. It looks like the kind of buildings that you would see in Hawaii. And I noticed that for all around the world, actually. Their autogen has definitely gone up quite a few notches. Granted, there are still some areas of improvement, like when the autogen puts a round building instead of a stadium or that sort of thing, but, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I can forgive for right now. All right, we are at 1800, so once again, put the speed brakes down. This is where I want to stay. And as you can see, we're currently downwind of Dillingham, so now's probably a good time to contact them. Dillingham Airfield, Dillingham traffic. Runway for landing is going to be 8. Full stop landing. And we'll announce our position.
Papa Hotel Delta Hotel traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo 3 miles east 1,800 feet inbound to land runway 8.
All right, let's get our gear down while we're at it. I'm going to tell them that we're downwind. Why not? Because, I mean, we are.
Papa Hotel Delta Hotel traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is on downwind runway 8.
All right, so let's begin our descent. And of course, since we had the autopilot on, we need to trim ourselves back up here. Trying to get a descent profile where we're about 400 feet per minute descending and at a speed of about 80 or so knots. So pull that up there. Let's get our fuel pump back on. How are we doing on gas? We're actually come down considerably. I may want to switch it to the other tank right now, but we'll wait until we land before we start messing with that. Wind's coming off the hill, kind of blowing us around a little bit here, but we should be fine. Now, this airport is kind of weird because there's an awfully long runway overrun. So you see all of that section there before we get to, what is it, runway 26? And then the same thing on the opposite side. It's a long overrun before you actually get to runway 8. But we are looking good. We're at the right speed. We're definitely not at the right descent rate, though. So we increase our speed a little bit here. All right, looking good now. So we're going to go downwind a little bit longer. Give us a little bit more speed here. I don't want us to drop too much. Look at that. There's a little motorboat there. Nice. I've never seen that before. Huh. I wonder if that's a part of this scenery package. So right up there, there's supposed to be the weather stations, which I'm thinking I am not seeing because I am missing that scenery add-on that I did download. I just forgot to install it. But normally there's supposed to be a bunch of globes there, which are the weather stations and whatnot. So my apologies. I'm sorry. I forgot. It's missing. But we're not going to need it anyway because we're getting ready to land. So let's see how we're doing. I just let go of all the controls and we're wanting to turn a little to the left. That's fine. That is fine. We will do so. All right, let's go to the outside view and see how we line up. Oh boy. Well, it's a good thing we've got all that runway overrun.
Papa Hotel Delta Hotel traffic November 70 Alpha Golf Bravo is on final runway 8 to land.
Wind is a little bit stronger, and we are awfully high, but I'm going to shoot for right where the runway threshold is, and we're actually going to drop the power considerably. So that means we're descending at a rate of about 800 feet per minute. You can see the gliders that this airport is famous for off to the left-hand side. From my understanding, there's a little bit of drama right now with this airport where they actually want to close it. I don't remember who the bad guy is in that situation, but suffice to say, I feel they should have it open. It is kind of like an icon on this island. But hopefully we'll see how that all works out eventually. And we're down. And we'll cut the power. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, there should be a turnoff coming up relatively soon, so we'll go ahead and give it some brakes. I think this is it here. Yep, most definitely. Alrighty, folks. So, welcome to Dillingham. This is now the, what is it, fourth airport in the South Oak Company line that we are taking a look at. I'll remind you, we started in Hana on Maui. We then went to Lanai Airport on the island of Lanai. Then we went to Kalaupapa, and Kalaupapa is on the northern side of Molokai. And now we are here on Oahu at Dillingham. And look at that building. Wow, that is cool. Can I get that house? I'd like that house, please. With a commanding view of the airport. They better not close this airport, by the way. I'm just saying. Here we have some fun little signs that are apparently there in real life. And another funny thing about this airport that I've heard too, the signs, some of the signs are actually in foreign languages, like Japanese and so on. So that's kind of cool that they took the time to put these extra signs there. I guess they got a lot of Japanese tourists or something along those lines. That's the story I'm going to go with here. But yes, beautiful Dillingham. This is another one of those airports that I thoroughly enjoyed back when I used to fly in FSX. And I'm really glad to see a quality version of this airport make it to Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is just perfect. I couldn't ask for a better Dillingham. There have been some quick updates to this airport just to fix things like, runway irregularities, as far as the mesh goes and so on and so forth. But overall, this one is really good. And this is the latest airport that they've come up with in their series. I don't know what they have coming next, but I promise you, as soon as I find out, I will make sure that you know as well. And I think you can probably tell just from the fact that I've been doing this tour, I am now a huge fan of South Oak Company's airports. Oh, what's up with that plane, though? That's kind of wild. Look at those little ultralights. Oh, that's so cool. I want to do an ultralight tour around Oahu, so maybe we'll save that for another episode. Not a part of this journey, but sometime later on down the line. Speaking of ultralights, there's the default one. I don't know if you have noticed, if you are an eagle-eyed viewer of this channel, that ultralight has been photobombing me in almost every episode for like the last 5 or 6, maybe even longer episodes. So if you are eagle-eyed, go back and rewatch those previous videos, including my chill videos, the ones that usually don't have a lot of production to them, and see if you can spot that guy. It's always that particular bird that shows up in the scenery somewhere. Craziness. All right, but we're here. So we will take a quick walk around and we will call it quits for now. Our walk around will be done while the closing credits are rolling. So at this point in time, I want to thank you as always for watching. This has been BelGeode. I've been flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator. We are in the midst of the Hawaiian tour using IndiaFoxtEcho's Rutan Long-EZ, a most amazing experimental bird that I would really love to fly in real life, but I'm glad I've got it for this sim. And the airports that we are showing off on this tour are all from South Oak Company, South Oak Scenery Company. Links to everything in the video description below. If you enjoy what you've seen, feel free to like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I will see you back here at Dillingham for the last leg of our journey. Ciao!